I may not be going through a struggle or loss or grief, but we're going to break all those boundaries down and we are going to join in with people where they are, meet them where they're at. I feel like so many different types of people can serve. I think one of the things that I love about Inheritance of Hope is that everyone, it seems like the mantra is we run towards you. So much of the world doesn't know what to do with death, dying, grief, sadness, loss. It's sort of like mental illness. You don't know how to touch it and you don't know how to address it, but it's there and it's real and everybody's experiencing it, at some point in some part of their life. And I love that we can say, you know what, just show up. Just show up and be you. It's just a place where you can have a like-minded understanding where you just love one another. It's a safe spot. When I go to legacy retreats or hope hubs, it enables me to just be able to say, you know what, Bonnie, it's okay. It's okay. Let's just enjoy ourselves. This needs to be fun. This is not school. And this is just, let's all really love on one another and smile a lot. And so
Yes.
that's something that when I was thinking through what Inheritance of Hope kind of the impact that it's made on me, that's one of them. That it's sweet to kind of be able to look back and go, wow, I'm even kind of proud of myself about that.
Yeah. Welcome to the Inheritance of Hope podcast. Every day, 562 children lose a parent to terminal illness. They shouldn't have to face that alone. You can pretend to avoid the painful realities of illness, grief, and death, or you can deal with the real stuff in caring community. On the podcast, people in Inheritance of Hope's community share raw, personal stories of pain, trials, and the shadow of death, which are also stories of joy in terminal illness. Find more Inheritance of Hope community at inheritanceofhope.org. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Inheritance of Hope podcast. My name is Ellie, and I'll be hosting today's episode with a special guest with a unique perspective that I'm just excited for her to share about how she found Inheritance of Hope and how she's been involved over the years. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Bonnie Sutton, and I live in the DC area in Silver Spring, Maryland. And my husband works here with Department of Homeland Security. I am a nurse. I work remotely with cardiac surgery data, and we have 3 children, a 20-year-old son that's in college, an 18-year-old son that's in college, and then a 15-year-old daughter that is still at home.
I love that. Have you lived in that area for most of your life?
No, actually, we have only lived here for about 11 years, and it is really only because my husband's job. We are from West Virginia. Right there where my boys go to school in West Virginia University is where I was raised from age 2 all the way till I got married. And so even though we live in the area, we basically kind of call ourselves mountaineers and from West Virginia. And we will more than likely go back there at some point. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's sweet that your boys are now in college, kind of where your roots are from. And yeah, hard to stay
Definitely.
away.
Definitely. It's actually extra special too because they also live with my parents, which is where I lived and was raised. So it's just a beautiful thing because my parents get to have them in their lives and they get to have their grandparents in their lives. So it's extra sweet.
Right. Especially being multiple states away. That feels like a great blessing that's kind of maybe unexpected.
It is. Definitely.
That's so sweet. Okay, so how did you initially hear about Inheritance of Hope?
So I feel like I'm one of the ones that is a little bit more unique in that my experience with Inheritance of Hope actually goes further back because I have known Jill Thompson, which a lot of people have heard that name. If they don't know Jill, they've more than likely heard that name. And we met in 1998. Our husbands were both in the Army. and we had both just gotten married and were young couples. Adam, her husband, was in the military, and my husband, Gareth, was also in the military. What is sweet about that and how I link that not only with just Jill and Inheritance of Hope, but also my experience with knowing Jill is that my husband was not an officer and Adam was. And when they invited us over for dinner, I remember thinking, this is not okay. This is a boundary that we are crossing that is not what you do in the military, right? And I
Hmm.
remember her basically saying, I don't care about a boundary, you know? And so
Mhm.
you fast forward, we stayed in Jill and Adam's life and stayed really close. And then in 2007, was when Inheritance of Hope started. And, Kristen got sick and Jill communicated all of that to me.
Mm.
But if you look even further now and look past that 2007 year at the relationship that Jill and I had back then and the relationship that we have now, it is interesting to see that that same Jill that in the military, a boundary didn't matter. It's that same premise of, I may not be going through a struggle or loss or grief, but we're going to break all those boundaries down and we are going to join in with people where they are, meet them where they're at. And so for me, Inheritance of Hope, it started out just being knowledgeable about it. And my husband and I, we donated towards Inheritance of Hope, and that was our first involvement. And I would do the Kendra Scott holiday, and buy jewelry that was promotional for Inheritance of Hope. But then Tessa called me
Hmm.
and basically said, "Where do you live? I know you love Inheritance of Hope, and I know that you tithe, and we are thinking about taking things from the Hope at Home online to gatherings in person." And that was sort of the beginning of me being more involved with Inheritance of Hope because the DC Hope Hub is now about an hour from me.
Mm.
And my son and I, Judah, who now lives, in college and cannot volunteer anymore, back when that started, we both would go monthly to Lorton, Virginia and volunteer. And then now we've both been on legacy retreats. And so is sort of the progression of where Inheritance of Hope started for me and where now it has become.
Yeah. I love that you have all of that history, and even if it's not something that you are personally dealing with within your own family structure, you see the value in it, and I feel like when someone in our life is passionate about something and they're excited about it and, like, inviting us into it, it's hard to kind of tune that out because by nature, you kinda just wanna lean in and be
Right,
interested in what your friends are interested in.
right.
And so for you to pick up on like, wow, there's this thing, that your friend Jill is talking about and is passionate about. And now that you are so plugged in, your family is plugged in, you've given, you've served, that is so beautiful. And I think just goes to show the impact of our passion and our interests, and that, yeah, other people are paying attention to that and wanting to lean in. And we all have different things we're gifted in or blessed with, whether that's a lot of finances or a lot of time or this special skill. And yeah, I always say, like, there's room for you at the table no matter your backstory, or yeah, what that gifting is. Like, there's room for you here.
Right, and I feel like so often when I share about, like, for say, I'm going on this legacy retreat and trying to describe to people what that is, and then kind of pivot and describe to people in my church, "Do you want to volunteer with Inheritance of Hope?" And they're like, "But wait, I thought it's a legacy retreat." And I was like, "Well, actually, it's multifaceted. It's
Yeah.
not just getting on an airplane and going and serving for just one weekend. We support people monthly. And if if that's, a way that you feel you can get filled up with service, then, that really helps a lot of people. Because I'm one definitely that I get I get a lot from serving others. It just is who I am. I don't know if you know the 5 love languages, but I'm silly about talking about the 5 love languages because everybody really does have a specific way that they show love and receive love. And for me, acts of service is huge. And so it fills up my love tank, if you will,
Mhm.
to go and just be able to serve others.
Yes, and we talk about that often. I feel like that's a repeated theme on this podcast of people saying it hardly even feels like a sacrifice because of how much I'm getting in return. Even though maybe I just spent a weekend volunteering on a legacy retreat and I didn't sleep well and my energy is depleted. Like I need naps when I get home. You are so filled up. Or if you give monthly, okay, yeah, that's coming out of your bank account, but what you're giving towards is filling you up in a different way. Yeah, and it's so valuable. So,
Well, and it's very biblical in that we are all members of one body, but we all have different talents. So, where I have a weakness, somebody else has a strength. And
mm,
so, personally for me, a legacy retreat, I absolutely love turning off my regular world. And that's one of the things that I even tell my family from that, like, Thursday until that Sunday, the little things that normally I would be answering or, trying to figure out, that's all gonna stop, and you're gonna have to figure it out yourself, and I am full straight ahead going to be serving this family, and they
mhm.
they are my focus, and Sunday, when it's over, you can be my focus again,
Yeah.
but that's one of the things that I really actually enjoy that because it enables me to put my mind in a different perspective, deny thyself, and really be able to be full on for that family. And it's looked different. I've been on more than one retreat, and it definitely looks different whether you're leading or you're really one on one with a child. And then even my hopes for the future is to be, one on one with an adult who's the diagnosed adult, because I'm a nurse, and so
Mhm.
that's another thing. As people figure out who I am and kind of what makes my clock tick, it's going to be neat to see even for the future as to how my service can even blossom in a different way. But it's such a great experience. I'm okay with go, 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 because it's for a greater good.
Mhm.
And and then the people that you get to meet, it's just valuable, because you walk
Right.
away from that with a lot of things to really process in your mind. And that's really what I do on that Sunday is just really try to process what all is going on and the impact that we can be to others is beautiful.
Mm.
And when my son went with me, it was so special to see that one of the things that I value, which is service, he was able and willing to just pick that up and run with it. And I didn't have to say, you need to deny yourself. This
Mm.
isn't about you. He told those parents, "Go on to bed. I'm gonna take these boys to the pool," and throwing them all over the pool, and it was just beautiful to see, and then, you have the Sunday wrap up where everybody's talking about their highs and their lows, and somebody else talking about my child, right, and saying, "He did so great. This is his first legacy retreat, but Judah did such an amazing job." So, from a mom's perspective, that just filled me up because
Mm.
that's who I want them to become, right? Servant leaders, and so it's just such a great organization to be the hands and the feet of Jesus. And I have done a lot of missions, so I'm someone who loves to get out of the norm. And normally for me, that looks like Kenya or Cambodia, or my kids go to Costa Rica. I've been to Mexico. So a lot of those times, Jesus looks different on different soil.
Mm.
It's not always building a house or evangelizing or praying over people, but this is really truly missions here in America for
Mhm.
people that we live with. It's not going to the nations, if you will, it's
Yeah.
really loving on people here. And that's one of the things I told Jill after my first retreat is this is just so different for me and it's it's so sweet to be able to have this.
Yeah. And it sounds like you were kinda hooked from that first retreat, is that right?
Definitely. You don't we had done Hope Hubs, and everybody had talked at Hope Hub, "Oh, have you been on a retreat?" And I'm like, "No." And I was sort of like thinking, "I'm good."
Yeah.
But then once you get on a retreat, then you're changed because it's such a bonding experience with the families, it's a bonding experience with Inheritance of Hope staff. You start to get to really know all the volunteers. It's just a special little club, if you will, that it's fun to be a part of.
Yes. Yeah, I've been on staff. I was probably on staff for like 2.5 years or something, and I have yet to be on a retreat. And then once this podcast got started, and I was talking, every single person on this podcast is like raving about their retreat. And before, I was always like, oh, that's an amazing service. I'll just kind of stay over here in my lane and keep working on these different services. And then through this podcast, I'm like, "Oh, man, I am missing out." And even I've said on a couple of podcast episodes, I've never been on a retreat. I've had people messaging me after that, like, "You have to go on a retreat. I can't believe you haven't been on one." So in 2026, I'm signed up for one. I'm, like, hoping to go, and, it does feel like something that you have to experience. If you're
Yeah.
in the Inheritance of Hope world, you have to
Yeah.
experience. And then, with Hope Hubs, the point of it was like everyone has this amazing retreat and then they all go home. And
Right.
it's like, oh man, I still want to connect with you. So it's kind of fun when like the retreat is the first point of contact with Inheritance of Hope. And then, if you have a Hope Hub in your city, you go month to month because you want to keep that up. And obviously,
Mhm.
if you've never been on a retreat, like you're still welcome to use any of the services. But it's just kind of fun to continue some of those relationships you built in person on a retreat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's special.
Yeah. Do you have kind of like a go-to story you like to share, whether from Hope Hub or retreat or elsewhere, of just a really good story of how a family was impacted or how you were impacted by a family?
I think that would be from Hope Hub because we have gotten to know each other really well with a few years now of meeting monthly. There's one specific family that lives fairly close to me, and her husband has already passed. She's actually been on a podcast, and I've
Okay.
listened to her. Um, but I was able to know her husband before he passed, and because my history is cardiothoracic surgery, we were able to talk through some things, and actually went and I helped with tube feeds and just kind of helped her with some of the care, and was able to then look at her and go, "Oh my gosh, you're like 24/7 nurse." My
Mhm.
brain is, oh, 12-hour shift or, an 8-hour day or something like that's nursing to me.
Mhm.
And for me to be like, wow, like it's nonstop nursing for you. Growing closer to her and just being a part of her life has been special. But she often will remind me of the thing that it just was like the light for her amongst all of this heartache and turmoil and, potential grief because it was before her husband had passed, is that I had let them borrow I had a wheelchair. A friend of
Mm.
mine was getting rid of their wheelchair and my parents are getting older. So I was like, well, why don't I just own a wheelchair myself? And so when she needed it, I was like, I'll bring you the wheelchair I have. And I was coming back to get it after they were done with it. And I thought I had locked it, but it was outside and I hadn't locked it. And she was like, Bonnie, Bonnie, the wheelchair. And it is soaring down the street. And I just go running, running, running after this wheelchair. She's dying laughing. I'm dying laughing. And it's like the humor in all of this tragedy,
Mm.
And so there's always a little bit of, we still live, right? We're still living through this. For those of us who, are serving or the caregiver, we need to find some joy even in all of this sadness. And for her, she has just time and time reminded me, and other people, like I'll hear her telling the story to other people. Like,
Yeah.
my funniest thing is just, I can see Bonnie in my head chasing a wheelchair down the street, and so
Yes.
I love that. It's just, we meet people where they are, and there's laughter while there's sadness, and that makes us human beings.
Yes. Yeah, and that is such a good example of kind of like what you said earlier with like Jill saying like, "Oh, here's this boundary. I don't really care. I just want to get to know you as a person or show up to you in this way." I also have a background in the healthcare field, and I'm very familiar with like HIPAA, and I
Right.
always was really discouraged by the concept of like going into a patient's room for 20 minutes, leaving, charting on them, going to another patient, maybe never seeing these people again. And I'm like, yes, I'm offering a valuable service and like care for them. But I would always feel like, man, I wish I was in this person's church and I could like bring them a meal. I could go over to that
Yes.
person's house and like continue that care. And I love that the story that you shared is like you are showing up in a very personal way in this person's home or like in this person's city and just being someone that, we don't have like the same HIPAA violations or the things that are
Mhm.
like these
Right.
boundaries that are like a big
Right.
no-no in other contexts where at Inheritance of Hope, we get to say like, yeah, you're hurting and there's maybe these boundaries of like, well, I don't know if it's appropriate. And obviously using discernment and not like
Sure.
putting, but showing up and saying, yeah, I'm here for you. Like, let me give you this wheelchair. Let me show up and
Yeah.
drop a meal off or help with your kids. And that is the beautiful thing of that story.
No one wants to face terminal illness, but the reality is more and more parenting age people are being diagnosed with cancer and other illnesses, and every day in the US alone, 562 kids will experience the heartbreaking loss of a parent due to terminal illness. But here's the good news. You don't have to face it alone. Join a hope-filled community of care that truly gets it. Whether you're living with illness or navigating life after loss, find comfort in local gatherings, ongoing support, and compassionate volunteers. And the impact? It's life-changing. Families are getting connected, finding hope, and changing the way they navigate illness and loss, because together, hope is possible right in your own city. Find connection at inheritanceofhope.org.
And that's
Mm.
why I feel like so many different types of people can serve. I think one of the things that I love about Inheritance of Hope is that everyone, it seems like the mantra is, we run towards you. So much of the world doesn't know what to do with death, dying, grief, sadness, loss. It's sort of like mental illness. You don't know how to touch it and you don't know how to
Mhm.
address it, but it's there and it's real and everybody's experiencing it, at some point in some part of their life. And I love that we can say, you know what, just show up. Just show
Mhm.
up and be you. And that's what I saw in Judah at Hope Hub. Judah didn't need to go and I had to prep him for saying the right thing. He was just himself, and the teenagers just flocked. They just all loved hanging out. And it's just a place where you can have a like-minded understanding where you just love one another. It's a safe spot, and it's not a fit for everybody. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that, because some people really it's scary or it's too hard. But I think for enough people that have a servant's heart, there is a place somewhere with
Mhm.
Inheritance of Hope. Whether it be, and I've never done a Hope at Home. I've never done any of those. But for people who don't want to leave their house,
Mhm.
that's perfect for them. I don't mind, driving an hour and
Mhm.
going out of my way. So I love that if you just be yourself and you just, be like Christ, then you really can serve and it's meaningful.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, I have volunteers on my team who are the diagnosed parent who were served on retreats and they got back from their retreat. And they wanted to give back, but obviously have varying schedules and just health issues that might flare up or have better days than others. And so they are volunteering doing like data entry or things on the back end where it's like,
Really?
yeah, you okay, stay at your house. You don't even have to drive anywhere. But like when you are feeling up for it and you have an hour to spare here or there, you are doing meaningful work. You're giving back. But like we work with you and you are providing this amazing service for us. And so it just is so sweet to see what purpose looks like for every person and how accessible it is. Yeah, like you said, if you want to drive, if you want to fly to the retreat and serve for a whole weekend, if you can't commit to that, we have online weekly support groups where you can just show up over Zoom, connect for an hour each week, and then close your laptop and that's it. Like there's so many opportunities and yeah, I love that.
Facing terminal illness is difficult enough, but you don't have to go through it alone. Whether you're at home, in a hospital bed, or on the road, join us. We are a community of people that get it. Find the connection, support, and hope you deserve. Because when you don't know where to turn, you can always find hope at home. So don't waste another second. Sign up today. Hope is waiting for you at inheritanceofhope.org.
And one of the things I like about the Legacy Retreat, too, that Kara actually will remind us when we go and we serve, this is your chance to just kind of be who you aren't. And she says that in a great way in that it's the night of the party. If you're not somebody who gets up and dances, guess what? Tonight you are. If you're not somebody who is a silly, crazy kind of person, you're going to let all that go. And tonight's the night for you to just be nuts. And so I realize I'm talking a lot about Judah, but we are kind of that family. My husband's a little bit more reserved, and so you really won't see him up dancing. And so the children, all of our children, are more reserved like he is.
Mm.
And at the Legacy Retreat party, he was doing the Macarena, and I had to video it because I was like, I love this. I cannot believe this is happening, and I love this because here's the moment where he heeded that advice, and he was like, all right, we're just going to let it all go crazy. And that's what those children remember too. That, it's just such a great experience for those kids because you only go one time. It is your family's one great, huge, blow it out of the park blast of an experience. And so I love that too, that it's almost like it's perfect for Kara to say every retreat because it's a reminder of you get to be that person that really you aren't every day in and out. You may be reserved and you may, I'm not that girl, but tonight you are going to be, and so you'll see me out there and I'm nuts and it's so fun.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, right. And it's in that case, it's like a silly example of like, it's not about you. So it's almost like in dancing and being goofy for these kids who are going through a really difficult time. That is servant leadership. That is like taking someone else's experience over your own and forfeiting, maybe I look weird or how am I being perceived? Right. It doesn't matter. It's not about you,
No. Yeah. And this last retreat that I just went on, three girls, and they're younger, and they're in that TikTok era, right? So they actually noticed that we were all actually dancing, and they went in the hall, and they planned an entire choreographed dance, the three of them, and then came back in and actually performed it for us. And, for them and their parents, it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. And I'm pretty sure those girls will stay connected, right? And they have this bond of this wonderful experience amidst their parents' terminal illness. So it is truly a legacy that they are being left with.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Right. I love that. And this is maybe going back a little bit, but I'm curious what your insight would be for this because I know you shared that, if you tell someone from your church about the Legacy Retreat and maybe people are like, oh, well, that's not my story. Like, what would I have to give to that? Or I don't feel equipped. That would be too hard for me or too emotional. How do you invite people who are outside of a diagnosed family into that picture and to experience that kind of joy and memory and legacy building like you're describing?
I think there's two ways of looking at it because I actually have shared about Inheritance of Hope with friends who are Christians and friends who are not. And I think when you present it as an exciting experience, it's contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And it's contagious in a different way for a different person. And so for people who are Christians, I think we have a calling. We have almost not a demand, but we're tasked to love others, right? And service is a part of that. I think, the fruits of the spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and so I think that for a Christian, if you can say, hey, there's this amazing opportunity, it's not so hard of a sell, if you will, to
Mm-hmm.
help people to want to get involved. We all come from different walks of life. And so I think for anybody, even though it might land a little differently for their reason as to why they would serve, I still think if you show how impactful it is to you, I think that it communicates it well enough that it's something that you should be involved in. And I think even if people try it once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just think about that perspective. You don't have to commit.
Mm-hmm.
You can just, try it. And there might be an area in there, just like with children's ministry. I may not want to be with fifth graders, but I'll happily hold a baby. Or the
Yeah.
opposite, someone who's like, I can't stand a crying baby, put me with helping them read Jesus Loves Me.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a place for everybody.
Right.
And I think that the more awareness and just getting the word out as to the good that it does, I think that that's so impactful.
Yes. And it's so infectious, like you said. Like, even when you were telling the story about people on the dance floor at a retreat, both of us were sitting here with huge smiles on our face. And you can just picture that image of kids who are really struggling and going through a tough time in life with a sick parent, getting to just dance with a dance that they came up with. And that is so beautiful and compelling. And I feel like it's when people hear initially what Inheritance of Hope does, a lot of times people are like, wow, how do you do that? That's so hard. That's so heavy. And I have a hard time conveying almost of like, yes, of course, this is a terrible situation, but oh my word, how can you not want to do something like
Right.
this? Because these services, these retreats, the communities that we have are so built on joy and fellowship and coming together with other people who get it. It's maybe not as heavy as people think it is. And I don't want to downplay it because
Right.
it's heavy things, of course, but is infectious. And I feel like one person doesn't seem like much, but like we are all over the US and it's kind of cool to see like different communities popping up with Hope Hub, but also just like churches who are talking about it more. And I know like I'm in Minnesota and people in my small group and my family in Wisconsin and their church and like my family in different states and friends in different states, they all know about Inheritance of Hope now because they see how much I love it and how much I'm talking about it. And if you, as a single person, share about something with passion and excitement, there's so much power in that word of mouth. And I just love that through us talking about these experiences, more families facing the loss of a parent due to terminal illness will hear about Inheritance of Hope and get the support that they need and the fellowship that they are craving to feel like they're not alone in that because we feel like it's just plain wrong for people to
Mhm.
face this alone. So we're like on a mission. How can we get more and more people to know about Inheritance of Hope and to donate so that these services can continue to be free for these families who are dealing with medical expenses and enough on their plate already? And how do we get more volunteers to make more services possible? So, yeah, I guess just don't underestimate how much one person's passion can do. And I feel like you're doing a great job of that and like painting such a great picture through your stories right now.
Well, and you don't always realize how much of an impact that you are for the families until maybe after when you see like we have this Facebook page
Mm.
that, when you go on a legacy retreat, there's a Facebook page that starts like Minneapolis group or, Orlando group. And so everybody introduces themselves and you get to see the faces of the people that you're about ready to spend the weekend with. And that's great because you're like, "Oh, I remember you. You guys were the picture that they were in this." But then afterwards, those families then repost and they
Mhm.
say, "Oh my gosh, this was the best." And one of the things that was really impactful for me this past legacy retreat was we had some kids who struggled and it wasn't the easiest room to
Mm.
to help all of the kids be happy and, not hit each other, and, because when they're little, they're just figuring out all of the boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that one of the other volunteers said is just try to remember what the parents are getting out of this. You
Mm.
may need some Tylenol and you might need a bottle of water and like a rest after you've chased these kids around the room and you're exhausted. But what you are giving to those parents is huge. And so that was great perspective for me because in the moment I was just like, oh my goodness gracious, I don't want to be in this room again. But
Mhm.
then it came so far too that the kids by the end of the weekend were obedient. Everybody was I was like, "Oh my goodness, you just said please and thank you?"
Yeah.
But then those same families were like, "It was so great. Our kids were taken care of." And so it is a big picture that you have
Yeah.
to look at, and it's just beautiful. And,
Yeah.
I realize that it's not really a club they wanna be in initially. I have a friend here who they're may be terminally ill, right? But and nobody wants to really be in the I have a terminal illness club.
Yeah.
But if people could just know the positives and how they're filled up, it's just so positively impactful. That's where I feel like the more that it gets out there, the better. I know that's something that Jill works on with just like a global view. Like she's so concerned about a global view, but then also like a really granular view because we were discussing Hope Hub.
Mhm.
And so, it's such a huge piece of her life and for her heart. But if we can just get more people to realize this is something again for them to run towards. We run towards you. But if you
Mhm.
could know that we are happily serving you, then it maybe not wouldn't be feeling so much like I don't really want to be a part of that group, because it's
Mhm.
hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you brought up that the culture piece of Inheritance of Hope. We say that often, like, when people are diagnosed with a terminal illness, people just don't know what to do, so they run the opposite direction, or they don't know where to go, so they kinda just stay, but we are the people who want to run towards them. And so I almost just get this picture of like, as we are running towards these people who need support and community and just love and like a little help with like playing with their kids as they get to process what's going on. Like, who can we link arms with and bring with us as we're running towards these vulnerable people? That is like that mindset is what's going to bring about more families receiving these services or more donors, more volunteers of just like who in my community has a heart for people and maybe like loves the Lord and wants to be his hands and feet. I'm going to link arms with them as I'm going this direction. And like, how many people can we link arms with together
Right.
and just build an even bigger community
Yeah.
to serve so many people? Because every single day, 562 children will lose a parent to terminal illness. And we think it is just plain wrong for them to face that alone. So, like, as we have people listening to this episode, I hope that what Bonnie is sharing and what we're talking about is compelling enough for you to, like, link on to our arms and, like, run towards people who are desperate for community and some support and resources.
Yeah. Yeah, because that number is really unfathomable.
Yeah.
You don't daily.
Mhm.
It is one day, 562. That's a lot.
Yeah. 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 So there's room for you at the table.
Right.
Come join
Right.
ours with us.
Right. Right. Come just as you are. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I really hope people are very compelled by this. I feel like the stories you shared and everything is just so good. And as we're wrapping up, is there anything that you wish I asked you about that we didn't cover, or anything that you want to share? Maybe some final thoughts?
I think the only thing that we didn't talk about is, for me, when I was, Jill will laugh at this if she's listening. I was sort of a strict parent, and that's where she's going to laugh. I was pretty strict. And when I go to legacy retreats or Hope Hubs, it enables me to just be able to say, you know what, Bonnie, it's okay. It's okay. Like, for example, when you're at a legacy retreat, they do a hand imprint of all the members of the family where we paint whatever color the child and the parent want, and we paint their hand and we imprint it on like a mat, and they get to take that home. And one of the times we had gotten a color on the brush that was not the color the child wanted. It was actually the color that was for somebody else. And my instinct was to go, "Oh, it'll be okay. Well, just do that color," And so often with my children, I'd be like, "You're gonna be fine. Just get over it."
Yeah.
But it's a, it, because you really know that it's not hard to clean the brush off.
Mhm.
It's okay. Like, let's rinse the brush off and let's get the right color. And that's what came out of me. That's what I chose. And I couldn't even believe that me, the strict person, was able to stop and go, "You know what? You're right. You may only be like 4 years old, but you get the color you want because
Mhm.
this is all about you. This is
Yeah.
not about me and we're wasting paint or it's already on there. Let's just go ahead and do it." It's okay to wash it off and for you to have the most fun and not cry. I love seeing that come out of me too.
Mhm.
Because I think I'm very rigid and structured, and letting all of that go is healthy every now and then. And so that's
Mhm.
the beautiful that it brings out in me is, you know what? It's going to be all right. Let's just enjoy ourselves and get it the way we want. So
Mm.
I would hope that someone else could really have that same experience. And I
Mhm.
have to remind myself of that every time I am going, like, this needs to be fun. This is not school or,
Mm.
there's no discipline. This is just, let's all really love on one another and smile a lot. And so
Yes.
that's something that when I was thinking through what Inheritance of Hope kind of the impact that it's made on me, that's one of them. That it's sweet to kind of be able to look back and go, wow, I'm even kind of proud of myself about that.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
And that's just so important too, because so much is out of the child's control when they have a
Yeah.
sick parent, and they lose part of their childhood and some
Right.
normal childhood experiences. And so I was just on a webinar with a different organization too, and I'm a certified child life specialist. The presenter was a certified child life specialist. So we have this background in, developmentally appropriate support for kids. And the webinar was all about how to talk to kids about incurable and end stage cancer, which
Mhm.
Inheritance of Hope falls under that. And she did a wonderful job of presenting. And she was like, so much is out of the child's control that this is the time to say, do you want the orange spoon or do you want the green spoon? And like
Yep.
honoring their choice, because for us, it's like, it doesn't matter. But for the kid, they don't decide like, is today a good day or a bad day for mom? I don't want to go to the doctor, but dad has an appointment. I have to go. I don't get to play outside. So yes, like the paint for the handprint is important for the kids. And so it also feels like what we were talking about earlier, if it doesn't even feel like a sacrifice because what you get out of it And it feels like you get to see this side of you come out that's like less strict, just like getting to lean into this child's story and like make it all about them. And
Yeah.
that's just so sweet.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
562 children will lose a parent to terminal illness today. That's 562 families facing heartbreak, fear, and uncertainty. They shouldn't have to face it alone. At Inheritance of Hope, we help families find moments of joy, hope, and lasting memories, even in the midst of terminal illness. This Thanks Plus Giving season, your gift does more than just bring comfort. It's matched dollar for dollar, doubling your impact. Together, we can make sure no child walks this journey without support. Give joy in terminal illness. Visit inheritanceofhope.org to make your matched gift now.
Well, we always end every single episode asking the guest whose life, death, legacy has been impactful for you in the way that you live your life because of the way they live theirs.
I would definitely have to say my parents, and both of them, not just one. It's because my parents were hard workers and they were generous and they were hospitable. My dad was a campus minister at BVU at West Virginia University, and he would take the shirt off of his back for someone. And that is what I saw as I grew up. And then for my mother, what I saw was it didn't matter what the house looked like. It didn't matter how much food there was. We said yes. The door is always open. And for me, I want my children to learn that too, right? And so my parents, I think, have just done a really great job of being not bothered by any specifics, but looking at the big picture of generosity and hospitality. And so they are definitely the biggest impact in my life. And I hope that I can, be who they wanted me to be. And then therefore that ripples down into my children, also wanting to be servants.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely my parents.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. And even just the stories you told of yourself from the retreat and even, with your son throwing the kids in the pool and just being a servant leader in that way, it feels like, yeah, it's not just your parents to you, but now it's you to your kids and just all these generations. And that's what's beautiful about legacy is that it's not
Right.
just our life impacts our life. Like, no, we impact people for better or for worse. And it sounds like, your parents
Right.
really impacted you for the better and you are passing that on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Well, what a lovely conversation with you. I hope this was really compelling for others who maybe just feel like, I don't know if I'm the one to jump in. Like, yep,
Yeah.
you are. Come
Yeah,
on.
you
Come
are.
join us. Yeah.
Yep. Lock hands and let's run.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you, Bonnie, so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You keep the rhythm of your home steady and sure, Bonnie. Gareth stands guard, steady as the frame of the porch. Judah lifts spirits when the room feels thin. Asher brings warmth, giving more than he takes. And little Torah hums tunes in the hallway, painting color into every quiet space. Together they shape a home that carries meaning, and you're right in the center, keeping the light on. You open your door like it's second nature. Every table you set holds hope in the middle, rooted in the message that changed your life. You share what you've been given with open hands, all for Jesus, all for the people he loves. Summer rides with grandma and grandpa laughing in the backseat, Fall nights around the fire with the cold rolling in. Trips across oceans where need meets kindness. Walking dusty roads in Kenya with hearts wide awake. Serving side by side until it shaped your story. A family woven tied through giving and going. The kind of memories that stay warm for decades, teaching them why love moves first. You open your door like it's second nature. Every table you set holds hope in the middle, rooted in the message that changed your life. You share what you've been given with open hands. All for Jesus, all for the people he loves. May the years ahead keep carrying this rhythm. May your children's children rise and keep it alive. A legacy built by choosing to serve. A line of hearts steady in purpose. Let what you've